Three model runs in a row now bring Erin closer to the United States, and the impacts could be higher. Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice, keeping you posted along the way. Thank you for being here. You can see Erin getting a little bit more organized and getting a lot more bullish with the thunderstorms around that center. And what's new today, we are now seeing a trend. Is it a trend that kind of stops right here and just gets closer to the United States, or is the European model correct? And this system could either brush up against the Carolinas or make landfall in the Carolinas. Let's unpack what's new, folks. If you're new to this channel, please like this video, comment in the comment section where you're watching from right now, and subscribe. Also, I recommend turning on notifications. That is a great way to stay tuned to what's going on right now as I unpack all that's going on with Erin and subsequent storms down the line. So a great way to do that is to subscribe to this channel right now. Please tell your friends and family wherever you're watching from right now. My commitment is to you. I give a no-nonsense approach to weather, and I keep you posted along the way so that you don't have to wonder. I am a meteorologist on TV, the same as I am online. I call it like I see it. I'm going to be direct with you. It is not time to freak out right now. It is not time to stress. It is not time to even cancel plans right now. But you do need to stay dialed in. We are very much in monitor mode right now across the eastern half of the United States. In particular, the Carolina coastline. Florida, we're still watching. You're not out of the woods completely, but things are looking a little bit better for Florida. We have to watch the islands as well. Let's get into this storm because it is looking stronger tonight. And again, I'm going to get to your comments at the end of this video, answer some of your questions, and say hello to wherever you're watching from in the world right now. Look at the storms. I mean, this thing is getting a lot more bullish, a lot more organized, and I'm afraid we're looking at a stronger storm system here. As we move forward, the system's going to continue to get better organized. Models call for this to continue to move toward the west, eventually becoming a Category 1 hurricane, then a Category 2, then a major Category 3 where it makes that turn. How close to the islands does it get, and what will the impacts be? We're going to unpack that in this video as well. And then Puerto Rico, Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, and eventually, does it get close enough to the United States to cause at least some sort of impacts down the line? Let's look closer at the computer models here. This would be the European, the GFS, and the Canadian all put together. Great agreement early on. Great agreement that it directly misses the islands. Great news there. How close to the Turks and Caicos does it get? Well, most of the models here show it turning. Of course, the European went way to the west today. That is the change here. It is off by itself, though. The GFS and the UK are far to the east. But there are some ensembles that bring it in here closer to the United States. And that trend, folks, it's all about trends. You know, models are going to do the windshield wiper effect. They're going to go back and forth. But what about trends? Is this thing trending, nudging one way or the other? That's what we have to identify here. And at least the European is telling us today there is a trend. You need to watch it. We need to stay tuned on it. All right, European, we're listening. You know, yesterday and subsequent days before, we've been looking at Bermuda or east of Bermuda even. Well, the models have started to trend a little bit to the west. Let me show you what I mean by that. Here is the very latest 0Z run of the models. This is all the tropical model action. This is all of the different ones that specifically look at tropics, okay? They do all show a curve. They all show a safe curve. But what about the trend? Well, here's right now. Here's a couple of models ago. Here's 2 model runs ago. So there's a slight trend to the west, not a big one, but with this latest update, there's a little divergence. They're not as clustered together, but there is at least a slight trend a little west of Bermuda, a little closer to the Outer Banks. So what does that mean in layman's terms? Well, there's going to be some big surf. There's going to be some big waves. I mean, that's no doubt. Carolinas to you know, the mid-Atlantic, even off the coast of Florida, there are going to be some big swells. I mean, you got a big Cat 3, maybe even Cat 4 if the models are right, sitting offshore. That could lead to some big-time swells coming our way. That's for sure. But how close does this actually get? Well, let's look at the brand new European. It's the 18Z, so it only gets out halfway here. But look how close that gets to the islands. And just for you folks watching right now on the islands, this would bring tropical storm force winds to Antigua, Barbuda, part of Puerto Rico. All right? U.S. Virgin Islands in here. Let's look at what those wind speeds could be. Wind gust swath, where you at? Here you are. Let me bring up the swath. There you are. So right in there, you see you get into that green. which gets us to 38 to 40 mile per hour winds. So you do get into some tropical storm force winds here north of the islands. Have you done that before? 100 times. I mean, I'm not concerned about that. But what I do not want to see would be flooding rain. Looks like the worst of the rain would stay north of you. However, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, I mean, this could be some big-time rain for you. So we'd have to watch that very closely. How close to the Bahamas does this get? European keeps it just east of you. All right. Looking in here, the Lesser Antilles, we're talking 3 to 5 inches of rain, with the strongest of the winds being to your north. All right, let's look at the 12Z run of the European. It's a little bit closer to you, so 2 to 5, northern part of the Lesser Antilles right here over there toward Puerto Rico. Watching it closely, that would keep the worst of it over to your north. As far as surface winds are concerned, let's look at the swath. Let me know right now where you're watching from. Any of you in this? We're certainly talking about 38 to 40 mile per hour winds. So certainly some tropical storm force winds are possible here, but it does not look to be significant. What we do need to look out for is what could be significant and get very close to the United States. I mean, this is big, folks. This is a big shift in the model to the west. And, I mean, you're talking about a major system being just east here, just east of the Outer Banks right here. So we're going to have to watch that very, very closely in those areas. All right. Let's get back to that. There we go. Zoom it out a little bit. Big time hurricane. Gets very close to the United States on the European. All right, so there's this trend here. There's this trend that wants to show it going a little bit closer to the United States and threatening the Outer Banks at the very least. Let's look at that a little bit closer here as to what the impacts would be on this. And in this case, we've got to watch it closely, because if it gets this close to the southeast, there could be impacts. I mean, there's a 70 mile per hour wind right there for Cape Hatteras, whereas before that was a couple hundred miles out to sea. Not to mention the wave heights could be significant right in here. So you're talking about it now being a couple hundred miles offshore of the Carolinas instead of 400 miles. So that's a big difference right there. It could mean some big time differences in impacts. Precipitation total, it'd be 2 to 5 inches. That western side is not as bad as the eastern side, but you got a major hurricane brushing up against the Carolinas right here. And folks, this is nothing to sneeze at. This is a big time hurricane. European AI, what does it show? The latest 18Z threads it in between Bermuda and the Outer Banks, but it is farther west than it has been. Looking at the 12Z, looking at the 6Z, looking at the 0Z, and looking at the 1-5 runs ago. So it has shifted a little bit. The European AI has been the most consistent at going closer to the United States with this. The last full run, the 12Z run, brings it right up there against Cape Hatteras as well. And folks, let's not discount the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, this is pretty wild here to see this getting that close to the United States. And I'm going to pull that up here as we look closer at the Northeast, because if it gets that close, there could be some big-time impacts up through the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, got a major hurricane a couple hundred miles offshore Washington, D.C., New York City, Boston. Certainly would generate some big-time swells. You'd be outside of the worst of the wind here. However, I mean, it's not far. This has got a 45 mile per hour wind gust in Boston. So tropical storm conditions in Boston from this major hurricane, I mean, not out of the question, folks. That's the Euro AI. Let's look at the Euro AI 18Z. 39 miles per hour up for Boston. Let's look at the European traditional model. 18Z, let's flip it back to the 12Z. Here it comes. It's coming. I think it's coming. Where's it at? Wind gust. Here we go. Here it is right there. There'll be hurricane force winds in the Outer Banks, 48-mile-per-hour winds up toward Boston. I mean, that's pretty significant, folks. Not out of the question, but also not too far-fetched. You know what I mean? Here we are with the European. You got only a couple of these runs actually making landfall in North Carolina. But if you look at the trend here, this is the last run of the European. This is the most recent run. Look at that big shift. So a clear shift in the models toward the west, closer to the United States. So we're looking at that. How about the GFS ensembles? They've been pretty steady. Going back a few runs here. And then that latest one. I mean, there are certainly some runs that are closer to the United States on the GFS. Let's pull that one up. Operational GFS from 18Z shows this thing safely between Bermuda and the Outer Banks. But when you compare it to its previous runs, last one was over Bermuda. 2 runs ago over Bermuda. 3 runs ago over Bermuda. So let's look at the most recent one. Several hundred miles to the west. So even the GFS shifted west. It's just, it was way over here and it shifted west, and now it's right here. Does that make sense? The European's the one that was already right here, shifted west. Now it's closer to, if not touching, the United States. As we look at the GFS ensembles, what do the ensembles support? Big cluster of them filtering right here between Bermuda and the Outer Banks. Some are closer to the Outer Banks than previously. Let's look at the previous run, 12Z. Let's go to 6Z. And let's go to 0Z. So yeah, there's been a shift to the west even on the GFS. Here's the European ensembles. I want to show you all those lines, all the tracks, all 51 of them. Look at the intensity on them, though. That's one thing I want us to talk about here for a second, folks. The consequences with this are dire. I mean, we're talking about a monster storm system. Each one of those lines, the brighter reds, pinks, oranges, indicate winds well over 100 miles per hour. This looks to be very much a major hurricane, if not Cat 4. All right, so some of the models are showing Cat 4 is certainly on the table and being possible. So folks, one thing's for sure, we're going to keep unpacking this here for you. The trends today have been shifting to the west a little bit. Not so much that we're looking at anything completely dire. Remember, we're not canceling trips yet. We're not stressing just yet. We're in monitor mode. We're watching this closely. You should be dialed in on this. You should be checking back in often because things will change. We don't want to see windshield wiper effect where it goes over here, and then you're just not knowing what to think. But my goal here is to give you steady, measured updates so that you can prepare you and your family and stay ahead of this curve, because I know that it can be stressful when you're talking about your family's safety. You want to make sure you have all the information at your disposal so that you can keep them safe. All right, friends, let's talk for a minute about what we have going on right now in the comment section. I just really want to thank you guys for watching where you all are watching from. Hey, Chris, been watching since it started in Jacksonville, Florida, hoping Erin stays far away in the ocean. You're my new favorite channel by far. Thank you. Well, thank you for watching. It is an honor to have you here, and I will keep you posted. That's a promise. Shout out from Abbeville, South Carolina. I tune in every day to keep track of the weather, especially during hurricane season. I used to reside in Charleston. Well, you know all about them hurricanes then, for sure, if you've been in Charleston. Thank you for watching in Abbeville. Thank you, Chris, for not making this a fish storm like everyone else. I'd rather be unsure and watch than to be caught off guard. You bet, Ashley. There is a set of people that will always be kind of the conservative, kind of approach. We don't know, so we're not going to talk about it. I'm going to be honest with you about what I don't know. I'm not promising to have all the answers, but I am going to show you and be transparent with you of what I'm seeing and what's possible. That's the whole purpose of my channel. If you don't want to see that, if it's not for you, that's okay. People can watch elsewhere. So I'm glad you can appreciate the early warning. That's the whole key here. Is what I do is I give you early warning. I'm going to be the first to tell you, and I'm going to be the first to tell you when, hey, yeah, we need to be concerned about this right now. We're not there yet. Okay, so that's where you don't cross over into hype. Where you go the far other side of it is people that are Cat 4 headed to the North Carolina coast. No, that's not accurate either, and that's dangerous even. So I'm glad you can appreciate that, is basically what I want to say. Sue's watching from beautiful Cape Cod. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no doubt. Thank you for watching. We will keep you posted. You certainly could have some impacts according to some of these models. I'll keep dialed in on it for you. We got St. Augustine, Florida. Just be prepared from Lakeland, Florida. Shout out to you, Chris, from Fort Myers Beach. Thank you for your expertise and information on this stinker. Yeah, it is a stinker, isn't it? Erin needs to get it out of here. Shout out from the Bronx, New York. Okay. Hey, Big Pete. Thanks for watching. Thank you. We got thanks for respecting our time. You bet. Chris, can't thank you enough for watching from Sebring, Florida, Central. Please and thank you for the information you give us. Always. I'll keep you posted around the clock. Thank you for following this channel. It's always better to be prepared than not wherever it goes. Thank you for updates. Watching from Mobile, Alabama. All right. From Greenville, living in West Palm Beach and working in Panama City Beach. Traveling between all three. I look forward to your forecast. Man, you are a busy traveler there, Mark. Thank you for watching, and you're hitting up almost 3 out of my probably 5 favorite places in the world. So be safe there in PCB, West Palm Beach, and as you come back through Greenville. All right. Okay, Chris, I'll keep an eye on my feed for your updates. Thank you for all you do. I have a feeling cooler water is going to keep it west and south. How about the Canadian model? Yeah, Canadian model's been kind of right there in the middle. It too shifted a little to the west today. Not significantly, but enough. Tampa Bay, I've seen it all. 66 years until 24 to 36 hours prior. Anything can happen. Hunker down and load up. Okay. Yeah, no doubt. They can certainly change. And we know that to be true. That's why you can't make a call one way or the other. Salute. Thank you for your careful analysis, watching and prepping throughout hurricane season in the Florida Panhandle. Be safe there. Thank you for watching. I live in Winston-Salem. I'm 2 to 3 hours away from the beach in the Atlantic, and I'm a very big fan of investigating weather a lot. Well, thank you. Welcome to the channel. Mary Cruz says, I live in Puerto Rico, and we know it is very important to monitor this system. Anything can change in the ocean and the Atlantic. It is very hot. Thank you for your info. You're very welcome, Mary. Be safe, and we'll keep you posted. Lisa's watching from Florida. Thank you. Deb Scott's here. We got Florida in the house as well. The UK. We love America. Thank you. We love the UK as well. Morning. Watching from the Bahamas. Thank you, Norman. Central Florida. When will the next video be up, do you think? If you live on Hilton Head Island, you should be watching very closely. No doubt. Hilton Head should be watching closely. Looks like if it does come up, it would be getting closer to the Carolinas. Carolinas are certainly a higher threat right now than Florida, but we're watching it. We're dialed in on it. Cowpen, St. Mary's, Georgia, Seattle, Washington, San Antonio, Texas. Good evening from Pensacola. Thank you, Chris, for your amazing weather forecast. It was rainy for a large part of the day. It was fun the other day when you said, take mommy this. She needs it. You saw that, yeah. I knew that if I didn't kind of direct her attention away, my 3-year-old came and bombed one of my videos here. She's super sweet, but there would be no getting this done. And I wasn't sure if my wife heard she was in there, but I said, hey, go give this to mom. She really needs it. I'm not sure what it was, but she did the mission, and hey, we made it. Famous last words of every parent. Yeah, no doubt. They're on to me. I can't use that same one for a while now, at least. All right. Hey, Mr. Justice, does this track compare to Hurricane Hugo's track? Hugo was more angled right for us. This looks like it's going to try to curve more of a Matthew, if we were to compare it. But, no 2 storms are the same, and we got to keep peeled to that. Watching from Stokesdale, North Carolina. Watching from Pickens, Lakeland, Florida. Thank you for caring, and best to you and your family. You're a great person. Well, thank you. Made my day. Thanks for Eastern North Carolina. Thank you for watching from there. St. Croix's in the house. Connecticut's in the house. Sanford, Florida. Thank you for the great job. I'm in Arizona. My family's in Long Island. Well, we'll certainly keep you posted there. Thank you for watching from Arizona. Hello from Maryland. Shout out Delray Beach, Florida. Yeah. Welcome. Let's see. Lehigh Acres, Florida. Did I get that right? Been watching the Weather Channel. They're very informative, giving great confidence it stays out to sea. Okay, we'll see. We will see. Hopefully it does. Hi from Charleston. Greenville, South Carolina is in the house. We're considering a road trip to Florida, 8:28 to 8:31. I think you're fine. I think this would be gone by then. I think, we've got to stay dialed into what could be after that, though. Big old Bun, North Carolina. All right, hello. Stuart, Florida says hi. Hello. Greenwood, South Carolina. Bryson City. Vilas, North Carolina. Florida. North Bergen, New Jersey. We got Santa Rosa, Texas in the house. Belton. What's up with the storm in the Gulf that could form? 20% chance on that one. Yeah, let's take a closer look at that one, folks, because before we end here, I do want to show you that, and I do want to show you the potential for that secondary system that some of the models have hinted at times. Thankfully, not really a major threat, but it is certainly something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Let me pull back up my graphics here, and we'll get to that. Folks, thank you for watching, and if I didn't call your name out today, please, in the comment section, let me know and say hello to me this time, and hopefully I'll be able to get to it in the next video. But let's pull up let's go up to the Atlantic Basin right here, and boom, there we are. All right, let me flip it back over for you, folks. Get your maps back up. All right, so here we are. Again, why we got to stay so tuned to this is look how close this brushes up against the Outer Banks according to the new European. So there's that. How about the Canadian? Somebody asked about the Canadian. It is way to the east, safely tucked away there. And how about the Euro AI and that secondary system? Let's go back to pressure here. All right, here we are. So it's got Erin coming up, brushing up against the east coast of, really, the United States. I mean, look at that, folks. Very, very close to the mid-Atlantic. Secondary system does come up right here, but it too curves according to the Euro AI and becomes a bigger system. How about the one run ago? It's got Erin. It's got storm number 2, almost very Erin-like, but gets up into Maine, Nova Scotia there. All right, how about the regular old European? Does it show anything behind this one? Let's look. There goes Erin exiting. Got a little guy coming in here to the Gulf. Kind of hangs out there and then gets up. That's one to watch. A 991 would be a tropical storm or a hurricane getting close to the coast of Texas. Of course, we don't want to have any flooding in Texas. So sad. Still can't get July out of my mind, folks. Prayers for the recovery. I know from being around Helene damage that looks in ways like it was 2 weeks ago, but here we are almost a year removed. Texas, I mean, you remain in my prayers. I know that it's not an overnight thing to get over something like that, and that it's going to be a lifetime before some scars are healed, and I mean that literally and figuratively. GFS does not show that secondary system. There is a little hatched area here in the tropics. There's an invest actually that is sitting there. Let's go to it. It's a little low pressure system that's set to cross over Mexico and then kind of make its way over the Yucatan and then back over Mexico. The models aren't really picking up on anything crazy with it. So it's a little swirl we got to watch. But those little swirls can turn into bigger swirls, and that's kind of what's happened here with Erin. But man, I tell you, Erin getting so close to the United States like that is just something we got to really stay dialed in on. And you can see it stretching out right there for eastern North Carolina. So, folks, tomorrow's going to be key. How close does it still get? Does that trend keep on going, or does it kind of park it where it's at? We're going to have to unpack that as we get closer, folks. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. If you're new to this channel and you appreciate my no-nonsense approach to weather, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and again, let me know where you're watching from in the comment section. We'll see you here tomorrow and have more updates.